Hello and welcome everybody. This is your home practice for the month. And the title of this class is Listening Yin, as in listening into the inner landscape of our body. So often we go to yoga classes and the teacher might advise you to listen to your body by way of a method of preventing injuries, but also as part of the kind of beginning process of the meditative inquiry side of the practice. So what do we really mean by listening to the body? Obviously, the body doesn't literally talk. So this practice, I hope, is an embodied exploration of that. Like, how do we listen to the body? Why is it important? So I hope you enjoy. I will include a few practices or postures that work around the hip joint and the legs as our focus. And we've only got a 20-minute practice here. I wanted to keep it short and sweet so that you could slip it into your day more easily. So if you know you're practicing with injuries or conditions, obviously doing this alone at home, you need to be completely in charge of attending to the body. And if you do feel pain or discomfort or feel intuitively that the pose I'm offering isn't the right pose for your body at this point in time, then please modify and adapt intuitively so the pain goes away and you feel more comfortable. And if you're not sure how to modify and adapt, then skip that posture out or leave it early, come to a comfortable resting pose, and do come and find me in the flesh in class, and I'm more than happy to help work out with you what was going on for you in that pose in person. So let's come down to a lying position on the mat. In terms of props, the more props the better in yin. So I've got here a blanket, I've got 2 bolsters, and I've also got 2 blocks and 2 bricks, and a yoga belt here. If you don't have any of those things at home, no problem. Really, all you need is a flat floor, maybe with a little bit of padding. So maybe a towel if you don't have a blanket. You can use a bathrobe strap or a jeans belt if you don't have a yoga belt. And you can also use bed pillows or cushions if you don't have the bolsters there. If you really want to adapt props, you could get 2 books as well to take the form of those yoga bricks and blocks over there. Now, as we come in, yin is the practice of yielding and softening, using time and gravitational load to unwind tension that we might be carrying in the fascia or deep within the joints themselves. So we're not looking to feel an aggressive stretch. We're looking to feel a widely distributed and gentle sense of release and spaciousness. So it's much more subtle than what you would be striving for in a hatha or a vinyasa practice. We're going to start in a very soft yin posture, really the most yin pose of all, which is shavasana. So if you do have a blanket or a towel, please could you fold it so it's about 2 inches thick. For some of you, that might be too high, depending on the curvature of your neck. For some of you, that might be too low. So do feel free to adapt that if that's not quite right. And then we're going to come down to semi-supine. If you do have a bolster or a pillow with you, prop it underneath the knees. And then adjust the blanket so it sits just in the nape of the neck there, right above the shoulders. Move any hair out the way. And as you come to bring the head to the ground, draw the chin away from the ceiling and towards your chest just a little bit, not tucking it down forcefully, but imagining just a heavy weight as the chin draws south. You want to feel a slight softness around the crease of the throat. A little double chin is a good thing in yoga, because it means the neck and that muscles are beginning to relax. And then release the arms alongside you, palms face up. Walk the shoulder blades outwards along the mat so you feel more stretched out widthways left to right. It might be helpful to lift and lengthen your legs over the bolster a little bit more, or the pillow, so that you can feel the curve at the back of your knee is supported by the peak of the bolster. Relax your legs completely now. So you feel the heels become heavier on the ground. Begin to notice the legs, and if you're carrying on subconscious tension around the front of the hips, the inner groin, or the thigh muscles themselves. Just by becoming aware of this region, the front of the hips, the back of the thighs, the back of the knees, it might be that you can feel the muscles soften and the leg bones themselves become heavier on the bolster. Allow yourself to drop into a complete and whole body sense of stillness. And what we mean by that is that the body becomes still. But even more powerful is when the mind begins to be in the body as it becomes still. So noticing if there's any thoughts whirring in the back of your mind. Maybe the mind is noticing sounds or sensations from the room. Maybe you can hear the mind jumping to the future, thinking about something that's yet to come, or dropping back into the past and regurgitating something that has already happened. And that's completely natural. It is the function of the mind to think and drop back to the past and forward to the future. However, there's another state of mind that we want to develop in the yoga practice, and that state of mind is about present awareness. And it's only in the present moment that we can really listen to the here and now reality of our body and acknowledge the environment and the space that we're in. So now begin to listen intimately but non-intrusively to just what's surfacing within your body as a landscape right now. It might be that you notice that there are pockets of tension muscularly around the joints. So scan your awareness through the whole body, picking out areas of tension or areas of looseness and softness. Notice what you're feeling without judgment, just simply labeling what you're noticing as your mind moves through the body. And now let's tune into the feeling of the breath as it moves through the body. So as you breathe in, let the mind be present with the breathing so that you can feel the inhalation and where it travels to in the body. Allow your chest to expand. The ribcage will naturally open. The belly might either stretch or feel like it expands. And then as you exhale, breathe out gently through the mouth with a ha sound and feel the chest, feel the belly, gently draw down towards the back. Feel the rib cage fold in, feel your chest and your shoulders become heavier. And now stay with that, really just following the movement of the breath through the torso, as if you're standing at the shore and watching the waves come into the landscape of the body as you breathe in. And feeling the wave of breath recede back into the space around you, back into the ocean as you breathe out. The mind will want to wander. See if you can stay with just this, the listening to the breath, and not only listening audibly, but also feeling the breath as it moves through the body. You can just begin to elongate the exhalation and allow little pauses between the breaths. There's no hurry to the breathing. We're looking to adopt a really slow, gentle pace, lingering as much as you want to between the breaths. And and then keeping that really close connection to the feeling of the body and the feeling of the breath, which is really what we call this whole body form of listening in yoga. Let's begin to transition into our next pose. So begin to move the bolster that's underneath the knees or the pillow towards the left side of your yoga mat. You want the top of the bolster near the outside of your hip. Slide your hips an inch to the right, lengthen the left leg towards the front, and then bring your right knee over towards the left side into a gentle twist. Now, if you find that your knee doesn't connect to the bolster or the pillow, see if you can find some more props to pad up underneath the leg so your leg has some support. If you're finding there's a pinching at the top of the hip joint, you can try moving your knee down lower or closer up towards the chest. Lift both of your arms up to the ceiling and kind of walk out the shoulder blades and then relay the arms down to the ground so your arms feel wide like wings. Now, if this still feels too strong, there's an option to stack both knees with the bolster between the legs. And certainly if you have any issues around the pubic bone or the SI joint or lower back, that can feel more restorative. We'll be here just for 2 to 3 minutes. So close the eyes. You can either have the center of the back of the skull on the floor, or you can turn towards your right hand, releasing the left side of your neck gently. And listening to the body in this pose means scanning your awareness through the body and noticing what sensations you're feeling. So maybe there's a gentle feeling of stretch around the outside of the leg and the hip. Maybe there's something being felt around the lower back. Maybe the chest, you're feeling a bit of a release or a stretch. And then you can feel how the breath interacts with the pose. And because we're in a gentle rotation, so the abdomen is compressed, then you might find that the breath fills out the lungs around the upper chest and shoulders a little bit. So listening as a kind of form of inner inquiry, just noticing what you're feeling moment by moment. Listening to these sensations and also listening to the space around you. Maybe picking up on the really subtle sounds that we don't often hear when we're rushing around. Listening without labeling. Listening without judgment, but with a big dose of compassion. And into the last minute of this pose, if you find you want more of a feeling of release around the top leg and hip, you can actually place your bolster on top of the legs. So you're using the bolster as a way of kind of weighting down the legs, which will increase the stretch and the rotation. However, if you've got a lower back issue, that might not be advisable. It's very important that the lower spine stays feeling long and not loaded. Slowly make your way out of this pose. So move the bolster away to the side and slip it to the right side of your yoga mat. And then place the feet down on the ground and gently take the legs back to center with the knees pointing to the ceiling. Scoop your pelvis back into the middle of the mat. Make sure the shoulders and the hips are more or less in the center alignment. Take your hands to your belly and with both feet firmly planted on the floor, take a nice long, slow breath in for the count of 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hold. And as you exhale, breathe out through the mouth with a ha sound and breathe out for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Slide your pelvis to the left. Lengthen your right leg and bring your left knee over towards the bolster on the right side this time. If that feels too strong, again, you have the variation. So you could stack the knees, placing the bolster between the legs, or no bolster, just stacking the knees is also an option. Lift both of your arms up to the ceiling and kind of recenter the shoulder blades on the mat, and then take the arms out wide like huge wings. Your arms want to be about the same height as your shoulders. And then either the center of the skull on the ground or turn your gaze towards your left hand. So gently release the right side of your neck. And if possible, really surrender the weight of your body down to the ground. So no striving, no pushing for stretch. Just imagine your body like a heavy stone resting in soft earth. Immediately drop into this sense of whole body listening. So scanning your awareness through the body and listening to the kind of voice of the body, which is the feeling of stretch, a feeling of spaciousness, feeling maybe of tightness or compression, or a feelingness of ease and energy, and picking up the kind of somatic feedback from the body in this way is the way that we listen to the body. Do make modifications in accordance to what you are hearing. Anytime you feel the mind wandering, know that it's completely natural. And just gently nudge your awareness back into the body, feeling something subtle, maybe the sensation around the inner arch of your feet. Maybe noticing how heavy the top leg is. Maybe tuning into the lower back or the outer hip or your chest. And then for the second minute, let's really focus on breath and the quality of the breathing. Ideally breathing with mouth closed and brushing the breath along the back of the throat very gently. So there's an almost inaudible oceanic sound that reverberates along the back of the throat as you breathe. And then slowly make your way back through to center. You can support the legs or the hips if you find they're a little bit tender after that long hold. And then take the feet to the floor, recenter your pelvis. And if it's comfortable and possible, you can bring the knees towards one another just to open up the lower back a little bit. Hands to belly, take a nice long, slow breath in for 4. And then out for 6. And just take a moment in between this pose and the next, and just notice how you're feeling. Maybe you're on a kind of more emotional level, maybe noticing the nervous system, maybe you feel slightly different in terms of stress levels or calmness or connection to the moment. connection to yourself. Now reach for your yoga strap, or it could be your bathrobe belt, towels, just something to kind of lasso over the foot. And let's start with the left side. So bring the strap around the ball of the left foot. And if you can, toes down to face, heel up. Now, if you've got a sore back at the moment, feel free to keep the lower leg bent, foot on the floor. Otherwise, straighten the right leg. And now we're looking to feel a widely distributed release across the back of the left leg. If your leg starts shaking, that would be too strong a sensation. So just ease off that bend in the knee or allowing the heel to move closer to the ground. This is option one, holding both sides of the strap with the arms straight, shoulders heavy. Option two, if you are using a yoga belt, loop it up so you're closing the D-ring. And then as long as you have no pre-existing neck injuries and herniations in the cervical spine, then bring the strap around the back of the skull. So nowhere near your neck, really just around the back of the skull, and adjust the strap so that your head can hover just off the blanket. And then arms alongside you, and you can use the weight of the head to just apply a little bit more load to the back of the leg. But again, if the legs start shaking or kind of becoming jarred, then you've gone a little bit too far. So maybe take the strap off the head if that's the kind of what you're feeling in the legs. Now this time we're going to focus a little bit more on the breath. So now we're really tuning into the sound of the breath, listening to the breath, listening to the quality of it, and listening to the length of the breath. So as you next breathe in with the mouth closed, pull your inhalation breath one in. As you exhale, pull your exhalation breath two. Inhale, breath three. Exhale, four. Inhale, five. And continue at your own pace now, honoring pauses between the breaths. All the way to 10. Okay, and then slowly holding onto the strap, lift your head out and lay the left leg flat down towards the ground and release the arms alongside you. Just take a moment noticing the difference between the left and the right side of your body. This is a form of whole body listening. It's noticing what's changed, what's shifted, maybe what's remained the same since doing the pose on this side. And then let's move to the other side. So you want to lift your left leg in just so you can move with the strap more easily. And slip the right foot into the strap around the ball of the foot. Lay the left foot down, knee bent, or if you did it on the other side, it feels good to this side, straighten the leg. Now this side might be unique. Sometimes we carry slightly different tension patterns on one side to the other. So adjust to this side uniquely. The back of your bum wants to feel heavy on the ground, so you could kind of slip your hand in the small of the back. That's kind of maintaining neutral spine. If your knee needs to bend more, then do to avoid any kind of strong shaking. You can also lengthen the foot further forward to the front of the mat if you're finding this is too strong. Option 1, arms straight, 1 strap in each hand. Or option 2, begin to slip the strap around the back of the head again, above the neck, okay, loosely around the ears. And then close the eyes, lean back so the head is just gracing the blanket behind you. And begin to make that slow count to 10 with your breath. So no rush or hurry. Allow little pauses between the breaths. And then inhale for your inhalation breath 1. Exhale for your exhale breath 2. Slowly inhale as 3. And exhale 4. Keep counting both sides of the breath all the way to 10. Amazing. And then lift the head out of the strap if you're using it that way. And then take the right leg all the way to the ground. Just let the whole body drop flat to the floor. And again, just check in with the body. Notice what's shifted. Notice how the body feels as it makes contact with the earth beneath you. Amazing. Let's come into the last yin posture here. We're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana. Now, in its most simple form, you can lie flat down on the ground with either 2 bricks, 2 books, or 2 bricks and 2 blocks with an angle underneath the outsides of your legs. So you've got some support. Spine can be flat down on the ground and the arms either alongside you, or you can bring your arms behind your head if you want to add a little bit of a moderate back bend and shoulder release. If you have the props at home, you could also place the bolster in the center of the mat vertically, and either another bolster underneath it, halfway down, to create a ramp, or if you don't have a second bolster, you can use a brick instead. You want to feel that the lower back is supported as you lie back, and that it's almost like a back bend for you, so the chest is open. If you find that's too severe a back bend for the lower spine, slip a flat block or a blanket underneath your bum. So your bum's slightly elevated and it's less of a shock, kind of graduating the spine onto the bolster. Make sure your legs are supported by something if the knees are not touching the ground. And then slip the arms off to the side. If you feel that your chin is unsupported, so it's sticking up to the ceiling too much, then grab something, a cushion or a block, and place it under the head. It's really important that chin squeeze towards down towards your throat. We're looking to feel a sense of release around the inner groins here, the inner thighs, and you might also be feeling something around the chest, maybe something around the rib cage or the belly and the hip flexors. But we're looking to avoid any uncomfortable sensations around the lower back or the knees, or too much of a stretch in the inner groins. So if you're feeling that, modify the props so it feels more organic. Scan your awareness to the body and listen intimately and non-intrusively just to what you're feeling moment by moment. You can simply label the sensations as they surface, or the sounds from around you as they surface. But as you label, try to let the thing just be the thing, rather than analyzing it or adding a story or reacting to it in any way. This is a form of listening that I describe as intimate but non-intrusive. You're allowing the sound or the sensation to surface and then pass without grabbing it or attaching to it or analyzing or defining yourself in any way according to it. Just let the sound or the feeling or the sensation surface and evolve and pass. As we do this, we stay in the present moment. We stay in that state of inner inquiry and compassionate listening to just what is moment by moment. Any tension in your body, try and loosen and let it go. Bring your arms around the outsides of the legs, lift your knees back through to center, move the props to the side. If you're on bolsters, slowly roll up through the spine, clear the bolsters out of the way. Clear the blocks or the bricks out of the way, and come down to lie just flat on the ground. If you can slip that blanket under the back of the head, perfect. Turn up the corners of your mouth into a quarter smile. And close the practice with a few moments of just allowing the body to release completely towards the floor beneath you. Practicing again this art of listening intimately and non-intrusively to how and who you are in this moment. Listening to the feedback of your body, the language of the body as feeling of stretch, as a feeling of spaciousness, or it could be a feeling of tension, it could be a sense of energy. Try and listen without judgment, without reacting or trying to change it, unless you get pain signals, in which case that is your body communicating to shift and move and adapt. And then listen to the breath and notice that the breath is a way of us connecting to ourselves. As we allow the breath to become slower, we can move away from the franticness of the mind and from that doing state, letting go of the roles that we play, perhaps, and that kind of external egoic sense of self. And instead, as the breath slows, we can slip inside and connect to that internal sense of self. Tapping maybe into something that feels a little bit more wholesome and tranquil. Feel free to stay here in Shavasana as long as you have the space for, and come back to this practice as much as you like. I will check in with you again soon, but otherwise have a really lovely day or evening.